evening. Very, very pleased to say that I've got Roel with me all the way from the Netherlands,
Yes.
and we're gonna discuss a little bit about whereabouts you're from and the difference between Holland, Netherlands, and also, well, actually. Let's do that first of all. Roel, some people get a little bit confused. Holland, Netherlands. What's the difference?
Yeah. First of all, let me say I'm very honored to be on your live.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Okay.
I'm the one that's honored that you've agreed to join me.
Okay. Well, about Netherlands and the Netherlands actually and Holland. Well, historically, it started with Holland, which was actually the western part, the northwest part of the current Netherlands.
Yes.
And then some more provinces got added to to Holland, and then they were all together called the Netherlands.
Right.
So when you're talking about Holland, it's either the historical version of the Netherlands, which was much smaller than the current Netherlands, or it's about the current provinces. You have a North Holland and a South Holland, and there are 2 of the 12 provinces of the Netherlands.
Yes. Yeah. I was going to say it's somewhat similar to, I suppose, here in the what we call the United Kingdom. We've got England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland. They are all separate countries, but they form the Isle of Great Britain, which is England, Scotland, and Wales, which then forms the United Kingdom, which is England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. It just keeps growing, doesn't it? You know, it
was very confusing for me until I understood it finally. But in the beginning, I used it all through each other. I was quite confused about what was actually the difference between England, UK, Great Britain.
Do you know what? Even people here in the UK, some of them don't understand the difference between that. There will, trust me, there will be people in Englandshire that don't understand the difference between England, Great Britain, UK.
Yeah, but actually in the Netherlands, we sometimes do it wrong ourselves. We say Holland when we mean the Netherlands. So if we are cheering up our national football team, we will say Hup, Holland, Hup.
Yeah.
So actually we're supporters of Holland and not of the Netherlands. Well,
yes, yeah. And Americans might find this strange for me to say this, but Holland are one of the greatest football teams in the world. They have an amazing record. In fact, I would say the majority of people in Britain are disappointed if there's ever a World Cup or European tournament when Holland aren't there, because some of the players, I mean, I'm going back to the days of Ipswich Town with Arnold Muirens and some of those great players, and it's just like, personally, as a resident in the UK, I've been to Holland 3 times, been to Amsterdam, thoroughly loved it twice. It's just great, and of course it's like home from home because everybody speaks English.
Yeah,
well,
certainly in Amsterdam.
Yeah. Anyway, so I believe you're kind of northeast of the Netherlands. Is that right? Groningen?
Yeah. Yes. Near Groningen. Actually, I live in a small village called Harkstede.
Yes.
But it's near the city of Groningen, and we have a saying in the Netherlands: "Er gaat niets boven Groningen," which means there's nothing above Groningen. But it's actually, literally, it means there's nothing to the north of Groningen.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's amazing. And of course, the actual country of Denmark, which don't speak Dutch, they speak Danish. That is like further on up north, and it's a bit that sort of juts out into the North Sea. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a bit to the northeast of the Netherlands. You need first go to Germany, that's to the east of Netherlands, and then you go north, and then you'll end up in Denmark.
Yeah. But it's not far. It's not far away, is it?
Well, it's relatively speaking, it's not far. But, you have to drive for, I think, 4 or 5 hours to get into Denmark. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it took me 4 hours to drive from Chicago to Manitowoc, so trust me, it's not.
Okay. Compared to the distances in the USA, it's very close by. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, if you were driving from, if you were going to go from Chicago to Green Bay, it would take you about 4 to 5 hours to do that journey.
Ooh.
Yeah, because I mean it's up the coast of Lake Michigan, which is beautiful. I mean it is a great place to go. Talking about Making a Murderer. When you watched it for the first time, I'm intrigued. Did you? Is there like a version of it with the Dutch overdubbed, or I can't imagine you would even need that. You could easily pick up on what they were saying in English, or did you watch it with the?
Yeah, but usually we don't have voiceovers in the Netherlands. We watch English series with subtitles. So there are Dutch subtitles. You can read you read it in Dutch, but everything you hear is still just in English.
Right.
Like everyone sees it.
Right. Okay. Stacy Seabrook, obviously, he came out with an iconic song called "Don't Get Strange," and of course, it is one of the iconic lines from the Making a Murderer. What would Stacy was asking me? What would be the Dutch for "Don't Get Strange"?
Don't get strange. Well, I've thought about different translations, but I think this one is the nicest.
Yeah.
Doe maar gewoon, dan doe je al Ericose genoeg.
Ah, right. Okay.
So, and which actually means act normal. Then that is already Ericose enough.
That. Okay. I noticed the word Ericose.
That's a Dutch word which means silly or confused about geography or other things. Something like that.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, pal. I think you're spot on. Okay, then. So, when did you first watch Making a Murderer?
Not quite sure, but I think it was in 2017, at the beginning or at the end of 2016. I'm not quite sure. It was it was not right when it was released or published. Right. I just straight and happened to stumble upon it on Netflix after watching several other series, and I found this one, and I thought, well, what's this? This? And actually, the greatest. Well, I was really dumbfounded at the end to find out after watching the series that these two guys were still in jail. I thought, well, this happened 12 years ago or something like that. And I thought, well, they must be out by now.
Yeah.
And after watching the last episode of that part 1 series, I went looking on the internet, and to my astonishment, they were still in jail. I couldn't believe it at first. Yeah,
it was exactly a year ago, just over a year ago, that I was actually in Amsterdam at the what's the name of the theatre? Have I got it? I got this flag, flag signed by Jerry Buting
in Amsterdam.
In the Van Dort Theatre. I've even got it. I've even got him. He signed the front of my book for me. But of course, I've not got a note of where we actually were. But yeah, he signed the front of the book. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, signed.
I can see it. Yeah.
And
very nice.
Well, yeah, and it amazed me. It amazed me that there were so many people in this theatre, this beautiful theatre with a nice. I mean, I must admit that the beer there. Oh, gee whiz, what a time I had! Love the beer. But anyway, the number of people there, you know, and the whole show, the whole presentation, it was Jerry Buting and David Rudolph. And everybody else that was there was from were Dutch, and the whole show was done in English. The guy that was presenting the show, he actually he got a cheer, even though he was an actual prosecutor in Amsterdam.
Oh, yeah.
But he was the host, and he was talking in English. It was just absolutely brilliant, and he had a great time. I just can't help thinking that one of the things that really annoys the people at fault in the Teresa Holbach investigation and the wrongful convictions of Stephen Brendan, it must really, really irk them. You know, they must be really mad that people throughout the world are actually into, you know, they get the fact that this is so wrong. You know what happened here, but I'm exactly with you. I couldn't believe it as I was watching it. I thought so when do things start getting sorted out? When do we see the
happy ending?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And if not a happy ending, at least somebody coming forward and saying, well, this is wrong. I suppose we're going to have to wait probably for Series 3 in order to cover a future either evidentiary hearing or trial. But yeah, I mean, I'm exactly. I could not believe what was happening there. And if I could, I'm pretty sure that the UK. The Netherlands, I would say just about every country in Europe, there is no way Brendan Dassey would have locked up.
No, certainly
Brendan
not
Dassey
anymore.
would not have happened.
No, that would not have happened. Purely on such a unbelievable confession, he would have never been convicted. But even if he had been convicted, in the Netherlands, he would be out by now because he never would have had a life sentence. We don't give life sentences to juveniles, so no way he would have been in prison still. Yeah, at this moment, even if he.
Sure.
Siri, shut up. Sorry. No way Brendan would have still been in prison, but he wouldn't even have been convicted on such an unbelievable confession.
Yeah. Now, I think one of the things that I'm picking up on is the fact that in certainly in America, there seems to be this constant race between both political parties to show that they are the ones that are tough on crime. No, we're the ones that. We're the ones that tough on crime. And I think at times it just kind of escalates. Is that something that you've picked up on that?
Yeah, I think that's going on in USA. The tougher you are on crime, the more votes you get. So the whole idea of voting for judges or prosecutors, getting elected is something that seems very strange to us in
Yeah.
Europe.
Yeah.
It's not good
No.
for the justice system, because the prosecutors end up ensuring convictions instead of finding the truth, and that's very different here in the Netherlands. The prosecutors are actually trying to find, and not just getting a conviction at all cost. I think that has to do with the fact that judges and prosecutors are being elected in the USA.
I was going to say for me, what beggars belief is that if you have votes, if people vote judges in, if they vote, for their DAs, if they vote for their sheriff, they are. Although the idea maybe 150, 200 years ago was a good idea back then, that there needs to be some modernization of what's going on there, because otherwise you simply end up with a system that is purely political.
Yeah, and it opens the door for corruption then.
Yeah. And I'm reminded of the fact that one or two people have mentioned to me, I don't know if you've heard of this concept, it's referred to as American exceptionalism, whereby the Americans, they don't like, they like to explain to everybody else that we do it in America differently to everybody else, because we're not the same as everywhere else. We've got exceptional circumstances. We've got things. Okay, America. Yeah, you've got things going on. You've got thousands and thousands of people shot dead every year. By gun-toting idiots. Yeah. I know this is going off topic, but where else in the world do you find, and the $50 million bullet is something that Eric Hose is going on about. Do you know what? It's not that much of a rarity for the hostage to be shot by the police.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Certainly.
But anyway, we're kind of going off topic, and what I didn't want to do was try and sort of present us as being sort of anti-American. We are anything but anti-American. We totally love America and Americans. We just feel really, really strongly about the fact that Wisconsin, own up to what you've done. However, it's an interesting question, this, isn't it? Where does the main problem lie? I can only think of the in series 1 of Making a Murderer. We only get to hear him a couple of times, and it's Conrad Pete Bates. Yeah. And he explains it quite clearly. The problem in all of this is Ken Kratz. Now, I know that you like Ken Kratz, don't you? Because have you not written a song about him?
Yeah, certainly. I love it when he's on Twitter, and yeah, it's great stuff for my next song.
Yeah, and also like you've done the song in Disingenuous Wisconsin. What was that called?
Wisconsin, actually.
That was it. Disingenuous Wisconsin. Yeah. That was it. Oh, that was absolutely brilliant. And then you did the one about Angela Sutkovich. Tell us what your thoughts are with Angela Sutkovich.
Well,
and by the way, sorry, we are after 10 o'clock, so whatever swearing you want to do about Angela Sutkovich is fine by me.
It's fine. Okay, I usually don't swear, so. Actually, the song was called ANGSS ADA. Yeah. So I wrote it literally 2 days after she waited for about 7 or 8 months before writing a stupid decision, so problematic. Well, actually, everything was wrong about that decision. I was so mad. I was so mad at that decision after such a long time, and then producing something that bad. I wrote the song in 1 or 2 days, and then I videoed it and I published it. And it was actually the idea of the song was she is not a real judge.
Yes.
She's just working for the state.
Yeah.
In secret, she loves to be an assistant DA.
Yeah.
She wants to help the prosecution.
Yes.
And well, that was what the song was about.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in fairness to Angela Sukovic, what I have found out about her is that she has made herself popular, certainly with some people in Wisconsin, with certain things that she has done. But it's this as you say, it's this idea that she is not just the judge in this, but she is the one that sort of arguing for the state. It's almost as if she takes it personally. That Kathleen Zellner is presenting this stuff against her.
Yeah, and the state files a response, and literally 2 or 3 hours later, she takes the decision. So she doesn't give Zellner any time to respond on that or whatever. And it's as if the decision was written by the state, was written by the prosecution, something like that. It's bizarre. You can't call that justice.
No,
it's part of a legal system, but not of a justice system, in my opinion.
Yeah. I was going to point out as well, of course, that over there in Amsterdam, certainly last year, as I say, there was a good turnout at the theatre that we went to in Amsterdam to see Jerry and
Rudolph.
David Rudolph, yeah. Obviously, another of the very vocal Dutch supporters is Georgina Stulenbos. Yeah, I'm sure you've chatted with her. I'm sure, and this is very embarrassing to the rest of us. I'm sure that you and her can chat quite easily in English and never have to use any Dutch.
No.
And that's. I mean, as I say, it's always amazed me, when you go to as I say, Amsterdam a couple of times, and everybody just speaks so fluent English.
But when I write a song in English, I sometimes have to use Google Translate or rhymezone.com to make sure I absolutely use the correct word, because sometimes I may think a word means this, but it's not exactly right. So when I use these words in a song, I have to trust Google Translate sometimes, because I'm not quite sure about the meaning or the connotation of a word or whatever.
The first time I was in Amsterdam, I was actually busking there for a week, and it was absolutely brilliant. That, as I say, the second time I went there, it was I kind of recognised a lot of the places, Dam Square, and then like the railway station, the tram station. But one of the things that we had I would say just about every bar we went to, we had a picture of Ajax football team, and for all the American listeners, football as invented. Proper football. Okay, it's
not they're doing in the USA.
It's not. Well, in America, of course, they are getting better. They call it soccer.
Soccer, yeah.
But in every bar that I went to, there was a picture of Ajax and Johan van Cruyff.
Johan Cruyff.
Yeah. Sorry, not. Did I say Van? Why did I say Van?
You said Van Cruyff.
No. Johan Cruyff. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Cruyff.
Apologies.
Cruyff.
Yes. Yeah, Johan Cruyff. Yeah.
Oh no, not Cruyff. Cruyff.
Cruyff. Right.
Cruyff. Very difficult.
Yeah, do you
It's
see?
also difficult to pronounce my last name. Do you know?
Yes.
Griffioen.
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 It's it's one of these things that I do realize that people that speak English, like myself, we tend to be very, very lazy. We do not pronounce our words the way that, for example, certainly the likes of, well, we refer to it as double Dutch.
Oh yeah.
Because it's trying to get the right pronunciation very, very difficult. But yeah, as I say, it just amazes me the reach of making a murderer, that you've got, as I say, these very vocal supporters like yourself, Georgina, and I'm thinking of there's a few other names that escape me at the moment, but I'm sure you've been in touch with them.
Yeah, Joris, for example, is a great researcher. He's done many things on Reddit and Twitter. Yeah, also from the Netherlands. I think N64 controller is also from the Netherlands. People like that. There are several Dutch people investing time in this case and doing research and being vocal about it.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I'm not a great researcher, to be honest. I'll quite happily Google stuff and look up stuff, and then try and form an opinion on base what I've sort of read about things. For me, what was quite bizarre, I suppose, and I don't know of anybody else that did this, but my immediate reaction to making a murderer was I got in touch with Sheriff Herman. That was my immediate reaction. I just wanted to know, dude, what's going on here? Why are Stephen Brendan still in prison? Why haven't Lincoln Colburn been arrested and charged with fabricating evidence? And it just beggars belief that they're still clinging on to this illusion. This illusion of justice, because it's just bizarre.
It's absurd. Yeah.
And I suppose from us in Europe is concerned, as I say, I think there's a lot of similarities between the UK and the rest of Europe. Although for some reason some people in the UK don't want to be part of Europe anymore, but I mean that's more of a sort of that's more of a sort of economic sort of standpoint. Certainly from a geographical point of view, it doesn't matter how they vote. The UK is still going to be part of Europe. It's still going to, we're still going to be an island in the North Sea. But it's like I think we struggle to understand and comprehend how the system is so twisted and warped over there I've come across cases as bizarre, not quite as bizarre as making a murderer, but as bizarre as Brendan being wrongfully convicted at 16. That is not unusual. I mean, I remember I wrote to Steve Drizzen and said, in fact, it was another case that I wrote to both him and Jerry Button about, and they both said, well, 20 years for accidentally shooting your friend. That is not considered harsh by American standards. It's
it's bizarre, and the punishments are higher and higher, and people getting sentenced to 600 years in jail. If you consider that, I will never understand that.
No. So, I mean, obviously, we're kind of.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're okay. You're okay. No worries.
Oh, Siri was acting up again. Sorry.
Oh, right. Is that like the thing that is voice activated?
Yeah, it's when I say something that sounds like Siri, okay, my phone will respond and try to do something. Yeah, sorry about that.
No, you're absolutely fine. So obviously we're kind of, I would say we're keeping up to pace with what's happening as far as the case is concerned. Are there any other of the Netflix series documentaries that you've found particularly interesting?
I have seen what was that called, the Innocent Tapes or something like
yes,
that. Yeah, I've seen that one. That Canadian case was bizarre. It was very, very strange. And actually, I've not seen that many Netflix series since Making a Murderer about that. I lately saw Dream Killer about Ryan Ferguson. And well, it's just as bizarre that there's no evidence, and the only reason he was convicted was two witnesses who recanted their testimony, and still the judge won't let him go. I can't understand that. It's so bizarre. I personally think that will never happen in the Netherlands, but I mustn't say that too loud, because we have had some wrongful convictions in the Netherlands.
Oh yes,
maybe about 6 or 7 in the last 20 years. So it's not such a big number as you have in the USA. But never say never. It can happen anywhere, but it doesn't happen often in our justice system. And part of that is, I think, having a jury. Having a jury sometimes makes the case more like, do I believe it or do I not believe it, instead of has it been proven. And I'm a mathematician, so something has been proven. If there's no chance that it's wrong, that it's incorrect, then it's proven. Now, I know in the justice system you can't be 100% sure, but at least you should be 99.9 or whatever % sure about someone being guilty. And if you're looking at Making a Murderer, and you're looking at Stephen Avery, the series doesn't prove he's innocent, but that's not needed. The series proves there's a reasonable doubt. So there's no reason why a jury would convict him, because there's enough reasonable doubt. There's tons of reasonable doubt. The series does prove that. That should be enough.
It should.
Sometimes a jury is more about 50-50. If we think he did it, then we'll convict him.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah, I think I don't know if you would agree with this, but I think often, certainly in America, with what the lawyers are allowed to do, what the judges allow them to do, what the police have been allowed to do, it becomes very much a pantomime. You know, it's just theatrics. You know,
and the one putting up the best show wins.
Yes.
And if the prosecution has a good show, a jury is likely to convict the defendant, whether he's guilty or not. Yeah.
I mean, Dean and Jerry had a jury pool of, I believe, 150 people, and they were given the questionnaires of, you know, what they thought about the case, and virtually all of them, that there was only one that actually said of the 150 that he thought that Stephen Avery might be innocent. I would strongly suspect that was the juror that was excused. Rick Marler. I'm sure it was Rick that was the one that was. Well, I've never actually asked him if he was the one, but I'm pretty sure he was. But I mean, even if it was Rick Marler, even if it wasn't Rick Marler, what was stunning was the fact that when they took the first vote, The jury,
Yeah,
the jury voted 7 to exactly. You know, so it's like, well, where did that all go wrong?
Something going on there in that jury room.
Yeah. Some shenanigans.
Yeah.
But again, we could. Well, we've got Laura and Moira talking about that. The fact that there was clearly something going on. What I'm particularly interested in, though, is certainly here in the UK, most of the time, I would say that that journalism tends to be pretty robust. It tends to try and look at the truth. It tends to put both sides. It tends to be quite good. Any thoughts on the journalism that you've come across over there in Wisconsin?
Yeah, they virtually all believe what the state says, what the prosecution says, and not very critical about things.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And how does the sort of how do journalists get to cover cases in Netherlands? I'm particularly interested in, of course, the fact that as everybody in the UK has said, that Ken Kratz's press conference would never ever have occurred here in the UK. Had Ken Kratz done that here in the UK, the case would have been dismissed there and then.
Yeah, certainly.
No judge would have handled that case following that. Is that the same in?
Yeah, that's the same in the Netherlands. It would never have been done that way. First, no prosecutor could have done that ever without being fired the next day.
Yeah.
And then he certainly wouldn't have gotten the case. And I think there are so many reasons this case would have been dismissed in the Netherlands, with everything that went wrong, with all the conflict of interest. A conflict of interest is very much a reason to dismiss the case. If a prosecutor is misconducting, then the defendant gets a free pass because prosecution is not allowed to do that. We call that a vormfout, an error of form or something like that. And then the case is dismissed. That's what happened in the Netherlands, and that's what usually happens in the Netherlands. The prosecutor wouldn't. He's kind of untouchable or so in USA. It seems like to me.
Yes, yeah. I mean, the other thing that beggared belief for me was when you had Ken Peterson being interviewed for either the TV or the radio, and basically telling the audience that, well, yes, we have an assassination unit here at Manitowoc, but we decided not to use them.
We could have killed them quite easily.
And it's the fact that a statement like that is actually thought of by some people within the journalism of, actually that's a good answer. That's a good answer. It's like, come on,
it's ridiculous.
Exactly. It's just crazy. Can we just go through? There's been a whole load of people asking questions. So let's just go through some of the questions.
I haven't been paying attention.
No. Listen, that's not your job. That's my job.
That's your job.
Because they come up on my screen here. You see?
Yeah, I see them, but in the corner of my eye. Mayday in downtown Amsterdam. I've never been there, Don.
Oh,
no. Mayday.
I don't think I've been there in May, but it sounds like fun. I'm sure it is.
Yeah, but Mayday may be the name of a pub or so, something like that. Mayday.
Right. Yeah. Now then, where? Let's see. Have I flipped past it? Let's see if I can find it. There was some. Okay, let's pop that one up. I have a question. What is the consensus? Is he getting evidence you're hearing, or will they come? Well, I would say both. I would say that the corruption will continue in Wisconsin until they tend to recognise that there's been a problem here. Will she get an evidentiary hearing? I think she will. She will get an evidentiary hearing.
Yeah, I think so too. But it can still take a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, that's a good question. Will corruption continue? It would need. I personally think it needs a high-profile case, as high-profile as this, for dare I say it, for Wisconsin or people, you know, some people in Wisconsin to realise that they've been given such a black eye that they think, hold on a sec, it isn't worth it.
Now we need to change.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, certainly. And actually, when the first wrongful conviction of Stephen was ended, there was something going on to make things better in Wisconsin. There was a law, that the Avery Bill, or what was it called?
Yeah.
But well, that all ended with the Hobbach case, of course.
Yeah. Yes, it was going to be called the Avery Bill to begin with. It was the Avery Task Force, and then it became the Justice Reform Bill, didn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Here's a comment from just across the border.
Belgium.
Jerome,
yeah. No life sentence for juvenile. No. He would have, if he had done it, and if it was proven that he had done it, he would have gotten, maybe about 8 years or something like that. And then part of that 8 years was just in a institution for socialization or something like that.
Yeah.
Because, it's still, you're talking about a kid.
Yeah. No judge, no legal system in Europe would accept that what Brendan gave was anything remotely near a confession. And you know, we've got 4 of those federal judges agreed that that was not a confession. All we've got is we've got people who have a vested interest in perpetuating Brendan's wrongful conviction because had they let him out, that would have been quite a game changer in the case of Steve, I believe.
Oh yeah,
you know, yeah.
Certainly. It would have started the snowball rolling and getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So they wanted to avoid that at any cost. So I don't know how they got to those unbound majority to get them to ensure the conviction, but it's bizarre.
Yeah. We've got another comment from Don. Don, by the way, is the guy that came up with the and it was interesting. Sorry, I must just mention, you've watched the Dream Killer. I thought Bill Ferguson, absolutely fantastic, that the way what he did and the way that he got that car with all the covered with all that stuff about Ryan Ferguson, and of course Don Ethan is the one that's come up with these Justice mobiles.
The Justice Mobile, yeah.
But I've got a question from Don to you, a request. And what we did was we said, well, what we could do is certainly leave the link I'll leave it in the comments below.
Yeah,
because it's there, and I would just say that I have visited your YouTube channel a few times. We could definitely do with Roel getting a few more subscribers. So please go on and subscribe to Roel's channel, because
that would be great.
What I keep going on about is the fact, and in fairness, the dude and I have been going on about this for 2 years at least now. The more people out there who are discussing the case, the worse it is for the guilters out there, and for the state of Wisconsin themselves. So the more we put on the shenanigans. I mean, what's the Dutch equivalent of shenanigans?
Oh, that's a tough one. I have to think about that.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go then. Here's a comment about your well, I would say disingenuine Wisconsin. And I have a funny feeling you did one before that I heard as well. I think you've
Ain't
done
No Saint.
That's it. Yeah,
that was
that's
the
it.
first one.
Now you've just reminded me.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell if it was an acoustic piano or an electric piano.
Oh, it's a keyboard actually, and
Is it?
I have different sounds on that. So I think the first song was just the piano sound.
Yeah.
But I think NGS's ADA I use a more harp-like sound.
Yeah.
With a strings on the background or something like that.
Yeah. And also a lot of these keyboards have a good honky-tonk piano sound on them, don't they?
Oh yeah.
That's sort of
certainly, yeah.
Talking about music, this didn't surprise me at all when I first found out about it. That it was a Dutchman that invented the clave-scribo method of writing music for piano. Had you come across that? Because I believe that I read somewhere that the clave-scribo method is used in a lot of primary schools in the Netherlands.
Not sure about that, but
right, okay.
I believe you will be right. Yeah.
Well, I will just explain to the listeners that in the same way that for guitar we have music, but we also have tab, which is a way of showing you where to put your fingers on the fretboard.
Yeah.
It was thanks to a Dutchman, Cornelius Pot, who lived between some like 1890 and 1960 or 70. He invented this system, and basically it's a form of tab for piano, which was. I mean, it's great. I mean, it makes life so much easier. I'm surprised it wasn't adopted worldwide. I suppose the only reason being that because there's so much music out there that's been written.
In the classical,
using normal music. Here is a comment on one of your songs, probably all of them.
Oh, thank you, Jane. Okay.
And Don is still pleading.
Oh, we can all sing it. Okay, I'll do one line. Okay, assistant DA, assistant DA. Okay, and I forgot the words.
Okay. Here's another good one from. Across the border.
Okay, thank you, Jerome. Yeah. Hi, Jerome.
He's a good lad, is Jerome.
Oh yes, certainly. Yeah.
Let's see, what have we got here? Okay, here's another comment from Jane.
Oh yeah, more than a hearing. In the end, a retrial would be needed, but only if the state decides to rebuy him. Of course, maybe they think it doesn't have any chance of success. I hope so, but well, I think it would make great television to see a retrial in this case, and to see Kathleen Zellner. Destroy Ken Kretsch's stand. I would love to see that. Like Crane in Dream Killer.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. There was one I was trying to find, and I probably have gone past it because I click on this button and it goes slowly, and then all of a sudden it just goes whoosh. and it's like difficult to control. It's probably just my keyboard skills, but I will attempt to improve. Let's see. Let's see what I can find. Sorry, I'm rattling the computer here quite a bit, trying to find my.
I see Linda saying, looking forward to seeing you on Friday. Yeah, same with me,
yes.
Linda. I'll be on Linda's live on Friday, so looking forward to that.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to see where, and then all of a sudden it goes rattling through. Okay, here we go then. Yeah, Mill, where's he gone?
Millbilly?
Yeah, he was there just a second ago.
Let me see. They tried to use the Halbach case to reinstate the death penalty.
Oh yes, they did. Yes, yeah. And
just like Trump tried to reinstate the death penalty in New York with the Central Park Five.
Absolutely. Like that. Yes, yeah. And the wording of it was particularly interesting because it said the death penalty for those convicted of murder supported by DNA evidence. And you think, how easy was it for them to plant DNA evidence in it?
Yeah, certainly.
I'm trying to find Millbilly's comment, but it was something to do with. Well, I know exactly what it was to do with. If I can't find it, not to worry. Yes, it must be just. You found that one. It keeps.
They blame his wrongful conviction on the victim. He says.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they said, well, he was only wrongful convicted because Penny Bjornson remembered wrong. Well, certainly not. The whole state was in on it. Yeah.
I mean, it's like. What I discovered looking into the case of Ken Kratz was that even within the DOJ, there appeared to be some people who were kind of more lenient towards Kratz and his predicament than others. But in the end, the DOJ did just sweep it all under the carpet. They weren't prepared to do anything until it got exposed. Now, the one thing that Ken Kratz does say, which is very interesting in that Ryan interview, is who leaked it to you? Somebody did leak it. Somebody had that sort of desire to want to see justice done. If you get the chance to watch it, this new series that has come out called the Killer Confession, or the Confession Killer. It's to do
Confession Killer. Yeah. I've read about it, but I haven't seen it yet. I certainly must go see it. Yeah.
Henry Lee Lucas. It's amazing. You've got all these characters, these DAs who are, at the least, they are corrupt, but at the worst, they are. As far as I'm concerned, they are basically committing legal murder by burying people alive. You've got likes of Jim Harding. You've got the likes of Kevin Crane. You've got obviously Ken Kratz. You've got your Kim Werthers of this world. You've got some absolutely despicable characters out there. But if you watch the Confession Killer, there is a guy over there in Texas, and I can't remember which county he's from, but it's to do with the fact that in Waco. In Waco, is Waco a county or is Waco a place? I can never remember which. I can remember the Waco sort of massacre when all these people committed. But anyway, suicide. Suicide. But you've got this guy over there, Vic Fazell. must watch it.
Okay.
Must watch what happens with Vic Fazell, and it'll amaze you that there's actually a DA in America that actually wants to do the right thing. I was gobsmacked when I saw it. But yes, the whole state being in on it, I don't think there's much doubt about that. But also, it was also the fact that you've got nobody wanting to step forward and to say anything about it. They're quite happy to just let the status quo be the way it is. I think that's
closing one of the lines.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things we find particularly disturbing. Let's just fast forward then to the last few comments. See what we've got here. Waco is in McLennan. That's right. Sorry. McLennan
Waco
County,
is a
Texas.
village.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
Or a town, maybe.
Yes.
I never know the difference between a town and a village. Well, the town is larger, but
absolutely, yeah. No, Texas is a pretty big place, isn't it? It's there are, in fact, there's a county in Texas called Williamson County, isn't there? And I can't help thinking, we've got a guy called Travis Williamson. Did they name a county after him?
Okay, is he on today or not?
He'll be kicking around somewhere because I've been exchanging a few messages with him. Listen, Roel, it is now nearly an hour that we've been chatting along, and as I say, I do want to stress that this is basically the first in a two-part conversation with yourself. Linda Kay will take over on Friday.
Next Friday. Yeah.
Is it next Friday or this Friday?
Coming Friday. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Two days time.
Yeah.
2 days time.
Yeah.
And I know because I've been following your tweets on Twitter, and so therefore, yes, let's go through with Linda. If we could some of the tweets, and then like everybody else, come back and join us again for another chat in hopefully pretty soon. What's really quite good fun is when we get a whole group of maybe, we can actually put up 6 people on this on this chat, on a chat at one time. Paul is way. Jamie. Paul is way off.
The way of subject.
Well, listen, Jamie. You don't get to become the Mad Haven Scotsman without having some qualities.
Oh yeah, you earned that title.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. Okay, anyway, so Jamie, if you're on about the Confession Killer, definitely go and watch that, because that is it. What's really interesting is there are again a lot of things which are similar to Making a Murder in terms of the fact that he's given confession and stuff like that, but it's got so many stories within the whole story, and you're left. I was left thinking, you're getting kind of confused as to who are the good guys here. Well, as I say, well worth a watch. To everybody out there. Anyway, I'm going to say, as I say, cheerio to everybody, because that's coming up for the. We are now into the 60th minute of chat, and I've kept you far too long. So anyway, please, everybody, join in with yourself and Linda. Have you got a time yet for when that's likely to be?
Might be 11 or 11:30 p.m. Central European time, I think. So about the same time as this chat, but maybe a half an hour later or something like that. I don't know what that means in USA times, but you can figure it out.
At the moment, we are. I am 6 hours ahead of Central Time. You are 7 hours ahead.
Yeah.
So we're looking at a Central Time of probably around about 2:30, till 3:30, 4 o'clock, something like that. Yeah.
Maybe a bit later, but
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah. Excellent. No, I meant central time for them.
I understand.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks very much for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for joining in, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
You're
Paul.
very,
It was
very welcome.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely
Okay.
brilliant. Thank you.
Okay.
And I'm just going to click that button there, and that's